most extravagant celebrity second weddings ever thrown. Before we get into it, if you love a good deep dive into celebrity fashion, red carpet history, and the receipts behind Hollywood's biggest days, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single countdown. And drop a comment letting me know which couple you think is going to take the #1 spot. I read every single one, and I promise you, some of these are going to surprise you. Number 30. Denise Richards and Aaron Pfeiffer's. We're kicking things off with a wedding that proves extravagance isn't always about how far in advance you plan. Sometimes it's about who you can get on the phone at a moment's notice. Sometimes it's also about how quickly the right people can turn a spontaneous idea into a full, polished event. Denise Richards and Aaron Pfeiffer's got engaged and married within about 2 days of each other in September 2018. Tying the knot on a bluff overlooking the Pacific at Cypress Sea Cove in Malibu in front of roughly 40 of their closest friends, including Real Housewives castmates and longtime pals like Lisa Vanderpump and Rebecca Romijn. Here's the extravagant part. Designer Mark Zunino, a go-to name for red carpet gowns, was given 24 hours, one single day, to design and construct Richards' strapless floral embroidered romper with its sheer flower-dotted skirt. That kind of last-minute couture access, the ability to call up a major designer and have a custom gown waiting for you the very next morning, is a flex all its own, and one that money alone doesn't buy without the right relationships behind it. Relationships built over years on countless red carpets and countless other designer fittings. It was the second marriage for both Richards, previously married to Charlie Sheen, and Pfeiffer's, previously married to Nicolette Sheridan. Reportedly pulled together by wedding planner Mindy Weiss in a matter of days, with the ceremony overlooking an infinity view of the ocean, the whole event was proof that when you have the right connections, speed itself becomes the luxury. And a wedding that would take most people a year to plan came together in the time it takes to book a flight. It's the kind of turnaround that only happens when every single person involved, from the officiant to the florist to the designer, already has your number saved. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 29. Ashley Simpson and Evan Ross. Next up, we're heading to Connecticut for a wedding that blended two entertainment dynasties into one seriously star-studded weekend. Ashley Simpson, on her second marriage after splitting from Pete Wentz, married Evan Ross, son of the legendary Diana Ross, in the summer of 2014 at a Greenwich estate owned by his iconic mother. The affair reportedly leaned bohemian glam, with lush greenery, string lights, and a guest list packed with music royalty, given the family pedigree on the groom's side. When your mother-in-law is Diana Ross, your wedding guest list essentially writes itself, and reportedly several members of the extended Motown family made the trip out to Connecticut just for the occasion. Ashley's sister Jessica Simpson stood by her side, and the whole weekend had the feel of an heirloom event being passed between two famous families rather than just a single ceremony. Reportedly, the celebration stretched across multiple days, leaning into that old Hollywood tradition of turning a wedding into a genuine weekend-long affair rather than a single evening, complete with a rehearsal dinner, brunches, and an atmosphere that reportedly felt more like a family reunion between musical royalty than a typical celebrity wedding. It's a quieter kind of extravagant, the kind built on legacy and star power rather than a single eye-popping price tag. But when the guest list itself reads like a music history book, it earns its spot on this list all the same. There's a certain kind of wedding that money simply cannot manufacture on its own, and marrying into a musical dynasty as storied as the Ross family is exactly that kind. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 28. Jenny McCarthy and Donnie Wahlberg. Coming in at 28, we've got a wedding that's less about a single over-the-top day and more about a couple who simply refuse to stop celebrating it. Jenny McCarthy, previously married to director John Asher, married New Kids on the Block member and Blue Blood star Donnie Wahlberg, previously married to Kim Fay, on August 31, 2014, at the historic Baker Hotel along the Fox River in St. Charles, Illinois, in front of roughly 90 guests. McCarthy wore a gown reportedly sourced from Bergdorf Goodman for the ceremony, and the wedding itself was covered extensively in People magazine, complete with official photos of the couple, the venue, and the dress that circulated widely at the time and remain easy to find today. It was the second marriage for both McCarthy and Wahlberg, each bringing a son from a previous relationship into their newly blended family, giving the day an extra layer of meaning beyond just the two of them. What makes this one stand out on the list isn't just the wedding day itself. It's everything that's followed. Every single year since, on their exact anniversary, the couple has returned to that same hotel to renew their vows all over again, using the same officiant in front of a small circle of loved ones, turning one wedding into an ongoing, decade-plus tradition that has been documented in fresh photos and videos every single August since. It's a genuinely rare kind of extravagance on this list. Not one over-the-top day, but the choice to recreate a version of that day year after year for over a decade running, with each anniversary generating its own fresh wave of coverage and images. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 27. Eva Longoria and Tony Parker. At number 27, we've got a wedding that took 2 ceremonies and one 17th-century chateau to pull off. Eva Longoria, previously married to actor Tyler Christopher, married NBA star Tony Parker in Paris over back-to-back days in July 2007, starting with a civil ceremony at Paris City Hall, officiated by the city's own mayor, followed the next day by a full Catholic ceremony at the 12th century Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois church, directly across from the Louvre. Longoria arrived in a pink Chanel mini dress before changing into a white gown for the ceremony itself, while the wedding party made its way through the streets in a fleet of red buses and a black Rolls-Royce. The guest list read like a genuine who's who of Hollywood and professional sports, including Victoria Beckham, Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, Jessica Alba, Sheryl Crow, and Longoria's own Desperate Housewives castmates, Terry Hatcher and Nicolette Sheridan, with French soccer star Thierry Henry standing in as a witness for the groom. The celebration then moved to a reception at Val-Vicomte, a lavish 17th-century chateau outside the city, complete with heavy security and crowds of fans gathering behind barricades just to catch a glimpse of the arrivals. It was the second marriage for Longoria, and the sheer density of A-list guests, historic venues, and back-to-back ceremonies turned what could have been a single wedding day into an entire Parisian weekend production. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 26. Sting and Trudy Styler. Number 26 takes us across the pond for a wedding that proves rock stars can do old-world English grandeur just as well as any Hollywood A-lister. Sting, previously married to actress Frances Temelty, married actress and producer Trudy Styler in a civil ceremony at Camden Register Office in London on August 20, 1992, before the couple held a full blessing ceremony 2 days later at the 12th century parish church of St. Andrew in Great Durnford, Wiltshire, tucked away in the English countryside. Styler wore a custom Versace gown of ivory satin lavishly embroidered in gold, reportedly valued at roughly £20,000, or what the couple jokingly called their quiet country wedding to the press beforehand. That quiet country wedding, however, came with a guest list of around 250 people, including Peter Gabriel, Bob Geldof, Paula Yates, Pamela Stevenson, and Billy Connolly, turning tiny Great Durnford into a temporary gathering point for some of the biggest names in British music and comedy for the entire weekend. It was the second marriage for Sting, whose first marriage to Temelty had ended nearly a decade earlier, and the sheer gap between the word quiet and the reality of a Versace gown, a historic church, and a guest list of rock and comedy royalty is exactly the kind of contradiction that makes this one worth including on a countdown built around extravagance. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 25. Pierce Brosnan and Keely Shea Smith. At 25, we've got a James Bond actor bringing genuine old-world grandeur to his second wedding. Pierce Brosnan, whose first wife, Cassandra Harris, passed away from ovarian cancer in 1991, married journalist Keely Shea Smith in August 2001 at Ballintubber Abbey, a historic medieval abbey in County Mayo, Ireland, that dates back to the year 1216. The setting alone reads like something out of one of his own films, all stone arches and centuries of history, the kind of backdrop no set designer could ever fully replicate on a soundstage, no matter the budget. The reception that followed was a lavish celebration at Ashford Castle, complete with fireworks and a guest list stacked with loved ones, and included traditional Irish musicians and ice sculptures, brought in to celebrate Brosnan's own Irish heritage in the country where he was born, with the festivities reportedly running well past midnight. There's something fitting about the man who played 007 choosing a venue with that much cinematic weight behind it. Even the architecture on his wedding day looked like it belonged in a movie trailer. Between the historic abbey and the fireworks-lit castle reception, this is a second wedding that leaned fully into old-world European grandeur, treating the ceremony itself as an homage to Brosnan's roots. Very few celebrities can say they got married in a building older than most modern nations, and even fewer follow it up with a castle reception on the very same day. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 24, Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber. Coming in at 24, supermodel Cindy Crawford's second wedding took her from the runways of Paris and Milan to the sun and sand of the Bahamas. After her first marriage to actor Richard Gere ended in 1995, Crawford married nightlife entrepreneur Randy Gerber in May 1998 in a beachfront ceremony at the Ocean Club, reportedly attended by a tight circle of close friends and family. As one of the defining supermodels of the era, Crawford's wedding look, a simple off-the-rack John Galliano mini dress, was the subject of enormous fashion press coverage, and the destination setting alone signaled the kind of privacy and exclusivity that only serious money can buy. Chartering an entire stretch of Bahamian coastline in the late 90s, before destination weddings were the norm they are today, was itself a genuine statement, requiring guests to fly in privately and stay at the same exclusive resort for days on end. The Bahamas ceremony reportedly kicked off a decades-long marriage and business partnership between the two, who would go on to help found the Casamigos tequila empire together, a business that would eventually sell for up to $1 billion, making this arguably one of the most quietly lucrative unions on this entire list. One that started on a beach with a guest list small enough to fit around a single dinner table. It's a reminder that sometimes the most extravagant thing a couple can do with a wedding is disappear entirely from the paparazzi's reach, and in the late 90s, a private island wedding did exactly that. Looking back, it's hard to think of a small beach ceremony that ended up quietly funding as much future extravagance as this one did. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 23. Kelly Preston and John Travolta. At number 23, we've got a wedding so nice, the couple technically had to do it twice. Kelly Preston, previously married to actor Kevin Gage, married John Travolta in a midnight ceremony at the legendary Hotel de Crillon in Paris on September 5, 1991, complete with a full wedding gown and a minister flown in specially for the occasion in one of the most storied luxury hotels in France. The proposal itself had come months earlier in Stade, Switzerland, on New Year's Eve, when Travolta presented Preston with a 6-carat diamond ring at the Palace Hotel, setting the tone for the whirlwind romance that followed. There was just one problem with the Paris ceremony. It turned out not to be legally recognized in the United States at all, so less than 2 weeks later, the couple quietly remarried at a courthouse in Daytona Beach, Florida, just to make everything official on paper. It was the second marriage for Preston, and between the historic Parisian hotel, the 6-carat proposal in the Swiss Alps, and the sheer commitment of getting married twice just to get the paperwork right, this is a wedding that spanned 2 countries, 2 ceremonies, and 2 very different kinds of glamour. One candlelit and romantic, the other quick and practical, but every bit as meaningful. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 22. Teresa Giudice and Luis Ruelas. At 22, we've got a wedding that turned a 15-acre New Jersey estate into a full circus of luxury. Literally. Teresa Giudice, previously married to Joe Giudice for 20 years, married businessman Luis Ruelas on August 6, 2022, at the Park Chateau Estate and Gardens in East Brunswick, New Jersey, in front of roughly 220 guests, including castmates from multiple Real Housewives franchises across the country. Giudice wore a strapless mermaid gown with a veil embroidered with the Italian phrase sempre insieme, meaning always together, and reportedly spent $10,000 on her wedding day hair alone, a detail that made headlines all on its own. The reception went far beyond a typical band and dance floor setup, featuring a 16-piece band, a DJ, saxophonist Art Cricklow, drummer Tito Puente Jr., a sword swallower, stilt walkers, aerialists, and burlesque dancers, turning the 15-acre venue into something closer to a private festival than a traditional wedding reception. All four of Giudice's daughters served as bridesmaids in matching blush pink gowns, walking alongside her down an aisle set to a rendition of Ave Maria. It was the second marriage for Giudice, and between the aerial performers, the sword swallower, and the sheer production value of the evening, this is a wedding that genuinely earns the word spectacle. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 21. Kevin Costner and Christine Baumgartner. Coming in at 21, Kevin Costner's second wedding took the Western aesthetic he built his career on and turned it into a full-blown Aspen spectacle. After his first marriage to Cindy Silva ended in 1994, Costner married handbag designer Christine Baumgartner in September 2004 at his Dunbar Ranch in Aspen, Colorado, reportedly in front of hundreds of guests that included fellow A-listers making the trip out to the Rockies just for the occasion. The ceremony leaned into rustic mountain grandeur, with sweeping views, elaborate floral installations, and an arrival by horse-drawn carriage, along with a massive marquee setup for the evening's entertainment. Reportedly, Costner even took guests canoeing on the lake and hosted a full weekend of outdoor activities, turning the celebration into as much of an immersive luxury retreat as a wedding, and giving guests a genuine mountain experience most people would have to spend a fortune to book, complete with festivities that reportedly ran late into the night. Set against the Rocky Mountains, with the kind of scale only a working actor's ranch estate can provide, this was a wedding built entirely around the same rugged, larger-than-life energy Costner brought to the big screen, right down to the mountain activities closing out the weekend. It's the kind of wedding where the scenery alone does half the heavy lifting, and the other half comes from a guest list most event planners could only dream of assembling. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 20. Katharine McPhee and David Foster. At number 20, we've got a wedding with one of the more eyebrow-raising age gaps on this entire list, but the sheer scale of the celebration is undeniable. Katharine McPhee, previously married to producer Nick Kokas, married music mogul David Foster, who was entering his fifth marriage, in London in June 2019 at the Church of St. Yigtich in South Kensington in front of a star-studded crowd. Considering the groom has produced hits for some of the biggest names in the business across a career spanning multiple decades and 16 Grammy Awards, from Whitney Houston to Celine Dion to Michael Bublé, the music credentials were unmatched. Reportedly followed by an opulent reception held at the private members club Oswald's, the wedding leaned hard into the couple's combined industry connections, turning the evening into something closer to an elite gala than a typical wedding, with guests treated to speeches and music. McPhee's custom gown came from Zac Posen, featuring layers of romantic tulle, and the whole affair carried the unmistakable stamp of a producer who spent decades staging some of music's biggest moments, applying that same instinct for spectacle to his own big day, right down to a luxurious multi-course dinner service that stretched well into the night. When your own groom has spent his career producing other people's biggest nights, it stands to reason his own wedding would come with the same level of showmanship. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 19. Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott. At 19, we're jetting off to Fiji for a wedding that leaned fully into destination wedding intimacy and island charm. Tori Spelling, daughter of legendary television producer Aaron Spelling, married actor Dean McDermott in May 2006 on Wakaya Island in Fiji, following her earlier marriage to writer Charlie Shanian and his own earlier marriage to actress Mary Jo Eustace. As the daughter of the man behind Beverly Hills, 9210 and Melrose Place, Spelling was no stranger to high-profile life. But for her second walk down the aisle, the couple chose a barefoot ceremony on a private beach with no guests present at all. The destination alone, an ultra-exclusive Fijian island, accessible only by private air charter, put this wedding in a league of high-end luxury, given the sheer cost of booking out top-tier private island accommodations in the South Pacific. Later documented heavily across their reality television ventures, the nuptials blurred the line between intimate personal milestone and public media brand, turning their love story into appointment viewing and setting the template for the kind of reality TV romance coverage that would become far more common in the years that followed. It's a rare case on this list where the extravagance wasn't in the guest list at all, but in the exclusivity of the location itself and everything that came after it. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 18. Nene Leakes and Greg Leakes. We've got a wedding that was so nice, the couple did it twice. And this time Bravo built an entire spin-off show around it. Nene Leakes and Greg Leakes had originally married in 1997, divorced in 2011, then reconciled and remarried each other on June 22, 2013, at the Intercontinental Buckhead Hotel in Atlanta, in front of roughly 400 guests. Leakes wore a $50,000 Barachi gown for the ceremony itself, styled around an old Hollywood theme, before changing into a $20,000 Nina Tornai gown for the reception, and then a third dress just to hit the dance floor comfortably. The entire lead-up to the wedding, including the dress fittings, the venue drama, and the bridal party disputes, was documented across 7 full episodes of the couple's own Bravo spin-off series, I Dream of Nene. The wedding, turning the engagement itself into appointment television months before the actual ceremony aired. It was, in the most literal sense possible, a genuine second wedding, the same bride, the same groom, a second chance at the aisle after their marriage had already ended once. This time, with the confidence of 2 people who already knew exactly what they were getting into. Between the 2 designer gowns, the 400 guests, and an entire television series built around the planning process, this is extravagance treated as its own reality show. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. 17. Hilary Duff and Matthew Coma. Coming in at 17, Hilary Duff's second wedding proved that intimate doesn't mean inexpensive. After her divorce from NHL player Mike Comrie, Duff married musician Matthew Coma in December 2019 in the front yard of their Los Angeles home, in a ceremony that looked deceptively simple but was anything but. Duff's gown was an entirely bespoke creation by Jenny Packham, the London-based designer favored by Kate Middleton herself, custom-made in the designer's studio, with cape-like sleeves that formed a train secured by individual buttons down the back, and Duff and Coma's initials hand-embroidered into the inside of the skirt, a deeply personal detail no one but the couple would ever actually see. A pearl-encrusted headband by Jennifer Behr completed the bridal look, adding yet another layer of designer detail to an outfit built entirely from scratch. Christmas carolers reportedly entertained guests before the reception, and Duff changed into a 2-piece gold outfit to hit the dance floor, with guests seated in a subtle formation around the ceremony, so the whole thing, in Duff's own words, would feel cozy. It's the kind of wedding that photographs as low-key while carrying a high 5-figure couture gown built entirely from scratch just for the occasion, flown in from London for a backyard in Los Angeles. It's a genuinely clever bit of misdirection, letting a front yard and a handful of carolers distract from just how much design work went into every single stitch. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 16. Lonnie Anderson and Burt Reynolds. At 16, we've got a wedding that built its own chapel and rented out an entire airplane hangar just for the reception. Burt Reynolds, previously married to actress Judy Carn, married Lonnie Anderson on April 30, 1988, at Reynolds' own 160-acre ranch near Jupiter, Florida, in front of roughly 60 guests, including Dom DeLuise, Perry Como, Anne Margaret, and Jim Nabors, who sang the Lord's Prayer during the ceremony itself. The couple exchanged vows in a cream-colored chapel built specifically on the property for the occasion, with Anderson wearing a white, knee-length gown featuring a high Victorian collar and a heavily lacy bodice, and Reynolds dressed in navy blue for the occasion. After the ceremony, the newlyweds rode a motorized stagecoach to a flower-adorned airplane hangar for the reception, where guests dined on seafood and salmon, sipped Dom Perignon champagne, and danced to a live 5-piece orchestra, playing music from the 1940s late into the evening. It was the second marriage for Reynolds, one of the biggest box office stars in the world at the time, and the sheer scale of turning a private Florida ranch into a chapel, a stagecoach route, and a full airplane hangar ballroom for one afternoon is the kind of production value only a movie star of his caliber could pull off. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Okay, we are officially halfway through the list. And if you're anything like me, your jaw is already on the floor at some of these numbers. Before we get into the top 15, and trust me, they only get bigger from here, do me a favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who love this kind of content just as much as you do. And I want to know in the comments right now, out of the 15 we've covered so far, which one would you actually want for your own wedding? Would you go for the 24-hour couture rush job, the Ray Charles surprise reception, or the private island getaway? Let's keep this countdown going, because I promise you, the back half of this list is where things get genuinely absurd, in the best possible way. Number 15. Christina El Moussa and Aunt Anstead. Kicking off the back half of our countdown at number 15, we've got a wedding so secret, guests didn't know where they were going until they were already on the bus. Christina El Moussa, previously married to her Flip or Flop co-star Tarek El Moussa, married British television host Aunt Anstead, previously married to Louise Anstead on December 22, 2018, in a Winter Wonderland-themed ceremony in Newport Beach, California, in front of roughly 70 guests who thought they were simply heading to a party before being loaded onto charter buses. El Moussa wore a sweeping Ines de Santo lace gown with a plunging neckline and a low back for the ceremony, later posing beside a vintage white car marked Just Married for one of the day's standout shots. The couple released an extensive slideshow of professional wedding photos afterward, crediting photographer Rich Lander for images spanning the ceremony, the reception, and sweet family moments with their 4 combined children, including a shot of Anstead's daughter buttoning up the back of El Moussa's gown. It was the second marriage for both El Moussa and Anstead, and the level of secrecy involved, right down to swearing the marriage license clerk to silence, only made the eventual reveal of the full wedding album feel even more like a surprise gift to fans. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 14. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. At number 14, one of the most anticipated weddings in Hollywood history finally happened, and true to form, the couple made it as private and personal as it was extravagant. Following Brad Pitt's earlier marriage to Jennifer Aniston, Pitt and Angelina Jolie married in August 2014 in a small chapel on the grounds of Chateau Miraval, their own 1,200-acre family estate in the south of France, complete with pine forests, olive groves, terraced hillsides, working vineyards, and historic stone structures. Jolie's gown was a custom creation by Atelier Versace, designed alongside master tailor Luigi Massi, and its most striking detail wasn't just the silk satin fabric, it was the veil and skirt, embroidered with dozens of colorful drawings made by all 6 of the couple's children, a one-of-a-kind detail no amount of money could have purchased off any runway. The ceremony was attended by only 20 guests, with the kids themselves taking part, walking Jolie down the aisle, serving as ring bearers, and scattering flower petals, followed by a celebration lunch featuring the couple's own award-winning rosé. There was no televised special, no massive guest list, just one of the world's most photographed couples choosing total privacy on their own massive French estate, which, after years of relentless tabloid coverage of their relationship, is its own kind of extravagance entirely. When you're 2 of the most photographed people alive, owning enough land to disappear entirely on your own wedding day is a luxury that very few other couples on Earth could ever access. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 13. Nick Lachey and Vanessa Minnillo. Coming in at 13, this is a wedding that turned an ultra-exclusive private island into full-blown reality television. Nick Lachey, following his divorce from Jessica Simpson, married Vanessa Minnillo in July 2011 on Necker Island, the private Caribbean island owned by Richard Branson. a location that famously commands tens of thousands of dollars a day to charter for anyone outside the Virgin founder's inner circle. Only 35 guests were let in on the secret, given invitations in the form of plane tickets with instructions to pack for island chic, with no one told the actual destination until they arrived at the airport and boarded a flight to the British Virgin Islands. Manilo wore a two-piece Monique Lhuillier gown with an embellished lace corset and a full silk skirt, paired with elegant designer heels, before relaxing into the tropical vibe for the reception. A wink at the island setting even after the formal ceremony wrapped. The entire event was filmed for a TLC special called Nick and Vanessa's Dream Wedding, turning one of the most exclusive private islands on the planet into the backdrop for a fully produced television event. Dress fittings, island activities, and all. Very few couples get to say their honeymoon destination and their wedding venue were the exact same private island, let alone one owned by a billionaire. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 12, Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker. At number 12, this is a wedding that happened not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, culminating in a full Italian spectacle. Kourtney Kardashian, entering her first legal marriage after her long relationship with Scott Disick, and Travis Barker, following his earlier marriage to Shanna Moakler, first exchanged vows in an unofficial Las Vegas ceremony, followed by a legal courthouse wedding in Santa Barbara, before finally holding their full celebration in Portofino, Italy, in May 2022. The Italian ceremony came with full fashion house backing from Dolce & Gabbana, featuring a custom mini gown with a massive embroidered veil showing the Virgin Mary, set against an atmosphere of Italian coastal glamour splashed across every corner of the seaside town, with historic boats decked out and the Kardashian-Jenner clan photographed in vintage archival looks. Attended by the extended family, the multi-day Italian affair turned the historic fishing village into a backdrop for one of the most photographed celebrity weddings of the decade, with paparazzi boats circling offshore for a glimpse of the festivities held at Lulevetta and Castello Brown. 3 ceremonies, 1 couple, and a finale in one of Italy's most exclusive coastal towns. That's a wedding celebration that refused to be just one event. Most couples struggle to plan one wedding. This one apparently couldn't resist planning 3, each one bigger than the last. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 11. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. At 11, Nicole Kidman's second wedding traded Hollywood spectacle for old-world romance, but the price tag was every bit as serious. Following her divorce from Tom Cruise, Kidman married country star Keith Urban in June 2006 at Sydney's Cardinal Cerretti Chapel, a candlelit, traditional ceremony in front of roughly 230 guests, with the interior lit for a warm, romantic glow that photographed like something out of a period film. And the newlyweds arriving and departing in classic Rolls-Royce vehicles for added charm. Kidman's custom gown came from Nicolas Ghesquière for Balenciaga, an ivory ruffle-trimmed design paired with delicate pearl earrings and soft waves. Rather than accept traditional wedding gifts, the couple asked guests to donate to humanitarian causes, and sent guests home with a personalized silver Tiffany & Co. desk clock engraved with "A Moment in Time," creating a memorable keepsake across the entire guest list. It's a wedding that proves restraint and extravagance aren't opposites. Sometimes the most refined choice is the quiet one. Multiply a Tiffany & Co. desk clock across 230 guests, and even the party favors start to look like a genuine investment. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 10. Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton. Coming in at number 10, Gwen Stefani's second wedding came with a groom who literally built her a chapel. Following her divorce from Gavin Rossdale, Stefani married country star Blake Shelton in July 2021 in a private chapel Shelton constructed on his Oklahoma ranch specifically for their big day, complete with classic architectural touches and intimate rustic detailing. Stefani wore not 1, but 2 custom Vera Wang looks. A silk georgette ceremony gown with a chapel-length veil, hand-embroidered with the names of Shelton, herself, and her 3 sons, followed by a strapless Vera Wang mini dress for the reception, embroidered with foliage and delicate silk lovebirds representing her family, plus custom handcrafted high-heeled boots that nodded to the country setting. Though the guest list stayed intimate at around 40 people, officiated by Carson Daly, the day was pure luxury. Set on Shelton's sprawling estate with world-class catering and custom floral arrangements. Building your bride an entire private chapel from scratch is the kind of grand romantic gesture that money genuinely can't fake. A structure built specifically to be used once for one ceremony on one particular afternoon is its own quiet, permanent kind of extravagance. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 9. Kaley Cuoco and Carl Cook. At number 9, Kaley Cuoco's second wedding turned a horse ranch into a full festival-style celebration. Following her divorce from tennis player Ryan Sweeting, Cuoco married professional equestrian Carl Cook in June 2018 at a horse ranch near San Diego, California. Her ceremony gown, a sleeveless lace ream acra design with a matching cape, featured exquisite hand embroidery, and she later changed into a plunging Tadashi Shoji lace jumpsuit for the reception. Proof that even a countdown built around gowns and grandeur can make room for a jumpsuit if it's dramatic enough. But the real extravagance was the party itself. A massive horseshoe-shaped floral structure, custom-built barn setups, circus-style performers, a milk and cookie bar, and even fully stocked grooming and beauty stations set up inside for guests. The reception carried an energetic theme from start to finish, complete with a live band, customized burger stations, and a dance floor that stayed packed well into the early morning hours. It's proof that a rustic equestrian setting doesn't mean a modest budget. Sometimes it just means the entertainment has endless space to put on a show. Open acreage turns out to be the perfect canvas for exactly this kind of over-the-top production. And this wedding? It has to be a yes for me. Number 8. Jessica Simpson and Eric Johnson. At number 8, Jessica Simpson's second wedding stretched into a multi-day luxury celebration, with the receipts to prove it. Following her divorce from Nick Lachey, Simpson married former NFL player Eric Johnson in July 2014 at the San Isidro Ranch in Montecito, California, with total event estimates running over $1 million from start to finish. Simpson's custom gold and champagne Carolina Herrera gown was a fashion highlight, catering for over 270 guests across the holiday weekend, ran hundreds of thousands of dollars. And custom floral installations transforming the grounds added massive costs to the bottom line. The couple even reserved extensive property accommodations and venue spaces to ensure total privacy for the entire weekend, which began with a rehearsal dinner before the main event the following day, with family members playing key roles throughout. Multiple days, hundreds of guests, and a massive final bill. This is extravagance measured in stamina as much as dollars. Anyone who has ever hosted an out-of-town wedding knows exactly how quickly reserving that many rooms for that many nights adds up. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 7. Star Jones and Al Reynolds. Coming in at number 7, this is the wedding that turned a television host's second marriage into a full-blown corporate production. Following her earlier marriage, former The View co-host Star Jones married investment banker Al Reynolds in November 2004 at St. Bartholomew's Church in Manhattan in front of 500 guests, including names like Hillary Clinton and Spike Lee. Jones wore a designer Reem Acra strapless gown with a dramatic 27-foot train that required multiple attendants to carry, walked down the aisle to a live performance from Patti LaBelle, and then moved the party to a grand reception at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, with a massive bridal party that included celebrity friends like Vivica A. Fox. The wedding famously featured dozens of commercial sponsors who provided services, decor, and goods in exchange for public promotion, turning the entire event into one of the most talked-about celebrity spectacles of the 2000s. A story that made just as many headlines for its corporate integration as it did for the ceremony itself. 27 feet of train and a guest list that included a future Secretary of State, that's extravagance with an asterisk. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 6, Donald Trump and Marla Maples. At number 6, we've got a wedding literally billed as a high society event of the season, and by every account, it lived up to the media hype. Following his divorce from Ivana Trump, Donald Trump married Marla Maples in December 1993 at the Plaza Hotel in New York City, an event attended by over 1,000 guests, including Howard Stern and O.J. Simpson, just 2 months after the couple welcomed their daughter, Tiffany. Maples wore a satin gown by Carolina Herrera, accessorized with a borrowed tiara containing over 300 diamonds and valued at an estimated $2 million, courtesy of jeweler Harry Winston, worn as her iconic accessory for the occasion. The reception featured extravagant food displays, including piles of caviar, alongside massive floral displays filling the historic Grand Ballroom, and a grand wedding cake for guests to enjoy, with public figures making appearances to take part in the massive media spectacle. A 1,000-plus guest list, a multi-million-dollar borrowed tiara, and endless luxury details. This was less a quiet wedding and more a full-scale New York society spectacle. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 5. Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. At number 5, this is the wedding that turned the exact same Plaza Hotel ballroom into an even bigger spectacle 7 years later. Following his divorce from Deandra Luker, Michael Douglas married Catherine Zeta-Jones in her first marriage in November 2000, reportedly costing between $1.5 and $2 million for the ultra-exclusive black tie affair. Zeta-Jones's custom Christian LaCroix gown, featuring hand-beading and finished with a Chantilly lace train, was valued well into 6 figures, paired with a vintage diamond tiara. Hundreds of guests, including Jack Nicholson, Sean Connery, and Steven Spielberg, attended the star-studded evening, which featured performances from Simply Red and a towering wedding cake from legendary designer Sylvia Weinstock, often called the Leonardo da Vinci of wedding cakes. The couple even sold exclusive photo rights to OK magazine, leading to a famous legal battle over unauthorized photos that made nearly as many headlines as the wedding itself. High-profile marriage, iconic hotel, an entirely new level of Hollywood spectacle. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 4. Sofia Vergara and Joe Manganiello. At number 4, Sofia Vergara's second wedding brought together Hollywood glamour and pure Latin celebration in equal measure. Following her early first marriage to Joe Gonzalez, Vergara married actor Joe Manganiello in November 2015 at the historic Breakers Resort in Palm Beach, Florida, reportedly costing millions of dollars for the multi-day celebration. Vergara's custom Zuhair Murad couture gown, a strapless design with a detachable train hand-embroidered with arabesques, reportedly took 32 seamstresses over 1,600 hours to construct, adorned with pounds of sequins, crystals, and pearls, a level of hand craftsmanship comparable to some of the most famous royal wedding dresses in modern history. The celebration spanned multiple days of poolside gatherings, an elaborate rehearsal dinner where Manganiello serenaded her, and a wedding night that featured a surprise performance from Pitbull himself, getting every single guest on their feet. 1,600 hours on a single gown and a surprise set from one of the biggest names in Latin pop. This wedding earns every bit of its spot near the top. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 3. George Clooney and Amal Clooney. Coming in at number 3, this is the wedding that shut down an entire corner of Venice for 4 straight days. Following his earlier marriage to Talia Balsam, George Clooney married human rights lawyer Amal Alamuddin in September 2014 in a celebrity spectacle held at the luxury Amman Canal Grande Hotel. Amal's custom wedding gown came from Oscar de la Renta, a designer she personally requested to work with, while her wardrobe across the weekend included a custom Giambattista Valli couture mini dress and a chic Stella McCartney pantsuit for the civil ceremony, with George turning to Giorgio Armani for his custom tuxedo. The celebration stretched across an entire long weekend, with roughly 100 guests, including Matt Damon and Bono, being ferried around Venice's waterways by private water taxis, capped off with multi-course dining, exquisite wines, and late-night celebrations. The atmosphere was pure Italian glamour, drawing international media attention to every boat arrival along the Grand Canal. An entire historic city as your backdrop for 4 days straight. Very few weddings on Earth can claim that kind of scale. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. Number 2, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. At number 2, this is a wedding story 20 years in the making. And when the celebration finally happened, Jennifer Lopez brought out 3 separate custom gowns for the occasion. Following his divorce from Jennifer Garner and her earlier marriages, Ben Affleck legally married Lopez in a quick Las Vegas ceremony in July 2022, before the couple threw a full 3-day celebration the following month at Affleck's estate in Riceboro, Georgia, a property he'd originally purchased back during their first engagement. Lopez wore 3 separate custom Ralph Lauren couture gowns made for the occasion, including a high-necked ruffle turtleneck gown with 1,000 handkerchiefs sewn to create a voluminous skirt, a form-fitting second look with cascading pearls, and a third gown featuring a delicate organza hood, each documented by the fashion house. The all-white weekend included customized guest touches, a strict white dress code, top-tier event design from Jay Shetty officiating, and a fireworks display over the estate grounds. 3 custom couture gowns from one of fashion's most iconic American designers, built around a single wedding weekend. That's an entry only a handful of couples on Earth could ever pull off. And this wedding, it has to be a yes for me. 1. Kim Kardashian and Kris Humphries. And at number 1, the most extravagant celebrity second wedding ever thrown belongs to Kim Kardashian and Kris Humphries, and it isn't particularly close. Following her earlier marriage to music producer Damon Thomas, Kardashian married NBA player Kris Humphries in August 2011 at a massive private estate in Montecito, California, in front of roughly 450 guests, including Serena Williams, Lindsay Lohan, and Eva Longoria. Kardashian wore 3 separate custom Vera Wang gowns across the ceremony and reception, an ivory strapless ball gown with a full tulle skirt and chantilly lace for the ceremony itself, followed by 2 additional reception looks, including a sleek mermaid gown and a satin look. Walked down the aisle by stepfather Bruce Jenner, with catering handled by celebrity chef Wolfgang Puck and a massive multi-tiered black and white cake for dessert. The entire event was filmed and packaged into a 2-part television special, Kim's Fairy Tale Wedding, which drew millions of viewers, while magazine photo deals helped turn the entire weekend into a massive commercial empire event. The full affair was estimated at millions of dollars once every luxury detail, gown, and custom setup was accounted for, making it not just a wedding, but a full pop culture moment with its own broadcast slot and permanent place in reality television history. 3 couture gowns, a 450-person guest list, a televised 2-part special, and an eye-watering budget. There is simply nothing else on this list that competes with that kind of scale. And this wedding, it absolutely has to be a yes for me. And there you have it, the 30 most extravagant celebrity second weddings ever thrown. From a 24-hour couture rush job all the way up to a massive televised spectacle with 3 custom gowns and Wolfgang Puck catering. What strikes me looking back across this whole list is how differently extravagant can look. Sometimes it's a massive guest list and a private island, and sometimes it's a groom building his bride an entire chapel by hand. Either way, when celebrities get a second chance at their perfect day, they clearly are not holding back. It's also worth noting just how many of these marriages, despite the jaw-dropping budgets and the picture-perfect ceremonies, didn't ultimately last. Money can buy an extraordinary wedding day, but as more than a few names on this list prove, it can't buy a guaranteed happy ending. Still, for one single day, every couple on this countdown got exactly the celebration they wanted, and in a handful of cases, decades later, they're still together and still celebrating those anniversaries. Looking back across all 30 of these, from a chapel built on an Oklahoma ranch to a full televised special with a multi-million-dollar budget, the one thing every single couple on this list had in common was the confidence to do it exactly their way the second time around. No compromises, no cutting corners, and absolutely no holding back. If nothing else, that's a pretty good lesson for the rest of us, even if most of our budgets look a little different. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you're subscribed with your notifications turned on, because I've got so many more of these deep dives coming, including a countdown of the worst dressed we've all been waiting for. Drop a comment and let me know which wedding on this list you'd want to recreate for yourself, and which one genuinely shocked you. Was it the 27-foot train, the private island, or the televised special that takes the crown for you? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.